No way, that's impossible. We're living together. You just need to sign the divorce papers. Good luck with your poor life. I stood there dazed, holding the phone after the call was suddenly cut off. The lawyer couldn't help but burst out laughing. Olivia looked at the lawyer, confused. He was wiping tears with a handkerchief. My name is Karen, and I am the CEO. I've been married to my husband, James, for 3 years. We don't have children. We're both so busy with work, often even on weekends, that we hardly find time for long talks. We mostly see each other in passing, so we try to sync our schedules for overseas trips during our long breaks. It's only once a year, but it's something we both really look forward to. When we got married, we decided to buy a condo on the upper floor of a Bay Area tower. It was a stretch financially, but we thought about the future value of the property. Thanks to that, we're happy with our current life. I have a close friend from high school, Olivia. We sometimes grab lunch together. Olivia is beautiful and has high standards for men. She's not married yet, but is eager to be. She looks for well-educated, high-earning men on dating apps and won't compromise on their income. One day I was having lunch with Olivia at a cafe near a park. We went to high school and university together, even shared the same classes. That's why we've consulted each other about various things over the years, knowing quite a bit about each other's dating histories and types. During our student days, we shared both fun and sad times. Those are cherished memories now. Since marrying James 3 years ago, we've both gotten busier and the chances to meet have decreased. Now we only see each other a few times a year. I'll come visit your condo next time, Olivia suddenly said. She had never been to my place before. Then, on the weekend, she came over. I could tell she was amazed even through the inner calm at the entrance. As soon as I opened the door, Olivia looked impressed. Wow, this place is like a mansion, and that elevator ride was so long. I had chosen a spacious upper-floor condo because it was a once-in-a-lifetime purchase. It's even more spacious than a house. It's beautiful, really incredible, Olivia said as she looked around the condo, turning her head in every direction. Great location and an upper floor in a high-rise like this must have cost a fortune, Olivia remarked with a slight smile. Yeah, you could say it's $1 million condominium. It's got great security, too, I said, but Olivia cut me off, reacting only to the term $1 million condominium. It must be over $1 million. Your husband must be making a lot, she said, her eyes wide with astonishment. That was so typical of Olivia. She always had high standards for men, especially regarding their income. James's salary is quite good for his age, I guess, I said vaguely. I felt it was tacky to be too explicit. Olivia had a look that seemed to hint at some ulterior motive. Can I use your bathroom? She asked and left the living room. I directed her to the bathroom and then started preparing tea in the kitchen. I was concerned when Olivia took a while to come back. I was about to check on her when she returned, saying, just replying to an email. Olivia usually didn't make excuses like that, so I felt a slight sense of unease. While enjoying the cookies Olivia brought as a gift and having tea, she asked, "Can I stay till the evening?" She apparently wanted to greet James. It had been since our wedding that Olivia last saw James, so it wasn't unnatural for her to want to see him. I decided to check with James just in case. James was happy about it. I might finish work early, he replied in an email. I told Olivia it was okay, and then I started preparing dinner. Olivia was using her smartphone, but then she stood up and went to the bathroom again. I didn't notice while cooking, but Olivia was gone for quite a while. When she came back, she was wearing a familiar necklace. It was my necklace. As I stared at the necklace, Olivia gave an embarrassed smile. How do I look? Does it suit me? She posed like a model. Seeing my stunned expression, Olivia started laughing. "Oh, come on, I'm just kidding. I found it and thought it was cute. It must have been super expensive, right? A premium piece for sure," Olivia said, sounding like a child making an excuse for a mistake. "That's a gift for James. Wow, he must be really wealthy to afford something like this," Olivia sighed. But more importantly, that necklace was stored in the closet in the bedroom. It seemed like Olivia had pretended to go to the bathroom and instead went to the bedroom to peek into the closet. I couldn't believe her actions. However, I didn't want to seem petty, so I just emphasized that it was a precious item. Taking advantage of my mild reaction, Olivia made a surprising request. "Can I borrow this necklace for a while? I've got a date with a doctor I met on a dating app. I want to wear it for that, please," she pleaded, putting her hands together as if praying. Reluctantly, I decided to lend it to her. "All right, but take good care of it. Like I said earlier, it's a gift for James." As soon as Olivia knew she could borrow it, she smiled and started touching the necklace gently. "Of course I understand," she said, though she seemed to ignore my words. When I finished preparing the meal, I pretended to go to the bathroom to check the bedroom. Sure enough, the closet in the bedroom and the chest beside the bed weren't fully closed. Olivia must have opened every drawer and door she could find. There were fingerprints on the jewelry, watches, and precious metals. She might have touched things, but probably didn't intend to borrow them. The shoes seemed to have been tried on, and the heels were bent out of shape. This was clearly going too far. I went back to the living room and asked Olivia, "You touched various things in the bedroom, didn't you? The shoes are out of shape, and there are fingerprints on the watch." Olivia puffed out her cheeks a bit instead of looking sorry. "Please don't do that again," I told her. Olivia went back to her normal face and said, "Sorry. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it and risk hurting our friendship, so I just laughed it off lightly." That's when James came home. He was holding a box of cake. It was the first time James and Olivia had seen each other since our wedding. It was awkward at first, but they slowly started talking, and by dinner, they were chatting like old friends. While I was cleaning the dishes, they were laughing together. "My boss is terrible, right?" James said, laughing. "I envy James's team," Olivia added. James was smiling, his eyes crinkling with laughter. "That's not true," he replied. I was a bit uncomfortable seeing Olivia touch James so casually, but I thought it was better than them being distant. After all, James wasn't usually the type of man Olivia went out with. About a month after Olivia's visit, I noticed a change in James. He spent more time on his smartphone, which he usually didn't do. He often seemed distracted when I spoke to him and asked me to repeat myself. He always took his phone with him, even to the bathroom. It was a noticeable change. I felt like I was becoming a cheated-on wife. I thought about checking James's phone once, but I hesitated to even touch it. Our conversations at home became increasingly rare. James started working on weekends much more often. He was hardly ever at home on weekends. Originally, we barely saw each other on weekdays, but now we weren't seeing each other on weekends either. It felt like we were living separately, even though we were in the same house. Moreover, we started sleeping in separate bedrooms under the excuse of his tiredness. I was thinking about divorce or separation when I found divorce papers on the living room table. Upon closer inspection, James had already signed them. Although I had suspected it, actually seeing them still shocked me. With trembling hands, I called James. "I just got home and saw this on the table. What does this mean?" "It means exactly what it looks like. I want a divorce," James replied. I pressed him for a real reason. "I've fallen in love with someone else. It's not just an affair, I'm serious about it." It was clearly cheating then. I heard a familiar female voice on the phone. It was Olivia. "I'm dating James now. I even want to marry him, she said. Though I had suspected it, hearing it confirmed made my heart race, and I broke out in a cold sweat. I fell for James the moment I saw him at your house. We exchanged contact details and started messaging. One thing led to another, and here we are, Olivia explained. Her tone was harsh. Maybe this was her true nature. James says there's nothing left to discuss. Can you just sign the divorce papers and send them off? Olivia asked. I wanted to talk things over, so I asked her to tell James to come home. No way. We're living together now. You just need to sign the divorce papers. Good luck with your poor life, she replied, and then the call ended abruptly. I stood there unable to move for a while after that. Sleepless nights continued for me. James didn't come home. I couldn't bring myself to touch the divorce papers. They just sat there untouched. Furthermore, Olivia kept sending me multiple photos of her and James together, flaunting her relationship. It seemed to be an intimate relationship, but this felt like harassment. My mental health deteriorated, my complexion worsened, and sometimes I became vacant even during the day. People around me became worried and strongly suggested I go to the hospital. I ended up being somewhat forcibly taken for treatment and started taking medication. I managed to find some peace and started to sleep again. I could somehow go to work, but then an unbelievable thing happened. When I returned from the hospital, something fell off in the room. Going to the bedroom and opening the closet, I found that bags and jewelry were missing. The count of jewelry and watches in the chest was off too. There was only one person who could have done this. Why would she do something like this? What had I ever done to her? My insomnia came back, and I had more sleepless nights, barely getting through my days. During counseling at the hospital, when I mentioned the theft at home, I was strongly advised to consult a lawyer. I contacted the company's lawyer right away and set up an appointment. The lawyer asked me first, "What would you like to do?" "I'll get a divorce. I want those two to face proper consequences," I answered immediately, surprising even myself. Just a little while ago, I was unsure what to do. I couldn't believe how easily those words came out of my mouth. Perhaps I really wanted to punish them after being tormented so unfairly. A week later, I received a message from Olivia. I had sent her a certified letter. "Hey, what are you thinking sending a certified letter to my workplace?" Olivia sounded pretty angry, her voice filled with rage. "You must have expected at least this much. Anyway, I'm leaving everything to my lawyer now." I hung up the phone. Olivia called several times after that, but I ignored all of them. Then James called. I had sent a certified letter to his parents' house. Apparently, his affair being exposed at home caused a huge uproar. I wanted to burst out laughing at his self-inflicted predicament, but managed to restrain myself. Feeling that leaving it all to the lawyer wouldn't be enough to calm my feelings, I decided to confront them both. I would denounce them thoroughly on the spot. The lawyer arranged the date and time, and we decided to have the discussion at the law office. A few days later, the two reluctantly showed up at the law office. I thought they would bring their own lawyer, but it seemed they came alone. Olivia stormed into the office, flinging the door open. James followed, looking uncomfortable. "Finally, we meet, you coward," Olivia said, not hiding her anger at all. James tried to calm her down. "You've been avoiding us all this time. Our wedding has been delayed because of you," Olivia said, looking like she might throw her bag at me any moment. James was desperately trying to hold her back as I watched them with a feeling of pity. The lawyer nodded at me. "Please calm down. If any violence or abusive language occurs, we will immediately call the police," the lawyer said. The mention of the police made Olivia stiffen. With the lawyer's intervention, Olivia and James took their seats, becoming calmer. We sat across from each other at the office table, ready to start the discussion. "James, you're seeking a divorce, correct?" I asked. Olivia sat angrily while James slumped, looking defeated. "We agree to the divorce. However, since your relationship is considered adultery, we will ask for alimony," I stated. James's face clouded over. "I'll agree to the divorce, but once the alimony is paid, don't contact us ever," he said. I quietly nodded in agreement. Olivia looked displeased, maybe expecting more resistance from me. When the lawyer began discussing the alimony amount, Olivia snapped. I said any amount is fine, we have plenty of money. Olivia sat arrogantly with her arms crossed. The lawyer looked at her with interest, then said, "Oh yes, didn't he tell you James is the president of a jewelry company with a yearly revenue of $3 billion? James looked up frantically, trying to restrain Olivia's arm. "An affair is nothing to us. I'll even give a proper share of the property," Olivia continued excitedly, her face flushed. James tried hard to calm her down. Olivia shook off his hand and continued, "You can barely make ends meet on your salary, right?" She scoffed with a laugh. The lawyer burst into uncontrollable laughter. Olivia looked at him with a puzzled expression. The lawyer, wiping tears with a handkerchief, said, "Actually, the president is Karen." Olivia was dumbstruck, her mouth hanging open. James hung his head, his body trembling slightly. "James is just an ordinary employee with no position at Karen's company," I stated. Olivia started laughing loudly. "What are you talking about? Are you really a lawyer? Can lawyers lie?" she asked. The lawyer calmly replied, "Why not ask James next to you if what I said is a lie?" James, meanwhile, just bit his lip, looking down. Olivia, growing anxious, grabbed James's arms and began shaking him. "You said you were the president of a $3 billion jewelry company. That's not a lie, right?" James remained silent, covering his face with his hands, uttering inaudible moans. Olivia, growing more and more desperate, gripped his arms tighter, repeatedly asking, "Answer me. It's not a lie, right?" James finally whispered in a raspy voice, "I'm sorry." The room fell into a deep silence. Olivia's strength seemed to leave her body, and she let her hands that were gripping James fall limply. "You said you were the president of a company making $3 billion a year," she muttered almost to herself. James's single apology had plunged Olivia into despair. She stood up trembling. "It's a lie, right?" "There's no way you're the president." Olivia pointed accusingly at me. "Why didn't I know about this after all we've shared?" I spoke to Olivia calmly, as if guiding her. "Just because we're close friends doesn't mean I tell you everything, especially since you were so fixated on money. I had no intention of telling you." I looked Olivia straight in the eyes without averting my gaze. Olivia seemed to lose all her energy and slumped down. "Then that house, of course, the house is in my name, so James will be the one leaving," I continued. Olivia fell silent, and James continued to hold his head. The lawyer began to present the evidence I had first gathered. These photos of James and Olivia together, they were the photos she sent to my phone, now printed out. The lawyer placed a voice recorder on the table and played a recorded conversation. "Why would you send something like this?" Olivia's voice filled the room, while James seemed to be holding back tears. "Hey, still clinging to the past. I want a divorce quickly." "I know what you're clinging to. It's James's income. He's the president of a $3 billion jewelry company, right?" Olivia said, perhaps embarrassed, and covered her face with her hands. "Hurry up and divorce and leave that condo. It'll be mine soon. Too bad James didn't come back to you. I'll give you as much alimony as you want." "Poor thing, your aim was the money, not James," the recorded conversation continued. James looked down, tears spilling onto his pants. James and Olivia fell silent. "Do you think this is over?" I asked. "What else is there, Olivia?" She broke into the house when Karen wasn't there and stole several items, didn't you? The lawyer said calmly. James looked shocked, apparently unaware of this. Hey, what's this about stealing? Olivia bit her lower lip, her hands shaking. No, not me. I don't know anything, she said. The lawyer placed a tablet on the table and played a video. It showed Olivia sneaking into the bedroom, taking bags and jewelry, and stuffing them into her bag. Olivia stared wide-eyed at the footage. What is this? Why are you recording me? Isn't this illegal surveillance? She asked. James covered his face with his hands. Inside our house, we've always had security cameras. Why didn't you tell me that earlier? Who would think you break in to steal? I started to get a headache from their ridiculous argument. And you used my key without permission. I wanted those things. It's your fault for not buying them for me, Olivia argued. They kept arguing, ignoring us and the lawyer, and I could only watch in disbelief. Please save your arguments for later. Regarding this theft, we will be filing a police report, I said. Olivia seemed to panic at the mention of the police. The police? That's a bit much, isn't it? I just borrowed something from a friend, she protested. I never gave you permission to borrow anything, I replied calmly. Besides, you're not a friend. You were just a classmate. That's why I'm filing a police report. Olivia seemed to realize. She was defeated, and her attitude turned gloomy. Don't say that. I'll pay for it. I'll make up for it. Just please don't call the police. Olivia started to kneel and apologize. I looked down at her and said coldly, You're going to compensate. The value of what you stole is more than your annual income. Are you sure about that? Olivia was speechless. And there's also the matter of the alimony. Olivia turned to James, pleading in a tearful voice. You'll pay, right? Even if you're not the president, you still earn well, right? James was silent, looking down. He can't pay it because he's about to be fired, I added. James looked up in surprise. That's right. Since leaving the house, James has not shown up for work. Plus, with this commotion, there have been complaints from his boss, I explained. James looked like he might collapse on the floor. But there's still a property division, right? I'll pay with that, Olivia said. But that wasn't possible. Karen and James had a prenuptial agreement about property. You didn't hear anything from James, did you? He never told you the inconvenient truths, I said, looking at James with disdain. The lawyer placed the contract on the table. The agreement stated that if the marriage lasted less than 5 years, neither party could claim the other's property. Currently, they were in the 3 years of their marriage, I continued. Olivia tried to grab the document as if to tear it up. You should handle that document carefully. It's a notarized deed, and you could be held legally accountable for damaging it, I warned her. At the mention of a crime, Olivia stopped. She then half-heartedly pleaded with James. James, you have savings, right? Use that to pay, Olivia said. James looked at Olivia with resentful eyes. What money? You always wanted sushi, steak, this, that. There's no way I have any savings left, he said. It appeared he also had debts from questionable sources. Olivia's shoulders slumped. It was a pitiable sight. The glamorous appearance that used to make men turn their heads was gone. This was the result of the seeds she had sown herself. The two sat looking haggard and lost, muttering, This wasn't supposed to happen. What will I do now? I decided to leave the rest to the lawyer and stood up to leave. Olivia, money isn't something you steal from others. It's something you earn through effort, I said. After that, the divorce went through smoothly. I set all of James's belongings back to his parents. His parents kept apologizing to me and even sent a letter of apology. Olivia was interrogated by the police for illegal entry and theft. My police report led to an investigation, and Olivia was arrested after admitting her guilt. Half of the stolen items had been sold, but I got the rest back. Despite the maliciousness of her actions, her show of remorse and intent to compensate suggested she might receive a suspended sentence. However, Olivia had other crimes. It was revealed that she had been stealing from men she met on a dating app, which meant she would likely face a prison sentence. No wonder she reacted so strongly to the mention of police and crime. James couldn't live in Olivia's apartment and moved to a 2-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of town. He's looking for a job, but his unexplained absences and poor attitude at his last job make it hard for him to get hired. For now, he's getting by with day labor. After the divorce, I threw myself into my work. Now I'm expanding our company's jewelry line to Europe. The idea came after a trip to Europe that I took as a break from everything. During that trip, I had the chance to share a glass of wine with the owner of a jewelry store in Switzerland. We talked passionately about jewelry designs. The owner and I hit it off, and he agreed to showcase my company's jewelry in his store. The owner is a wonderful man who, perhaps because of his own history with divorce, understands my heartache. To be honest, I'm focusing on sales in Switzerland partly to see him. It might be mixing business with pleasure, but I think I've earned this perk after all I've been through. That's how tough it has been for me. I receive regular updates on their situations from the lawyer after the divorce.
I was having lunch with my coworkers in Seattle when a notification popped up on my phone. I checked the security camera and my heart raced. My mother-in-law, Diana, was in my house, telling movers where to put her things. "This goes upstairs," she said, pointing to the master bedroom. "Be careful with that mirror. It's a family heirloom." She walked around like she owned the place, her fancy handbag swinging on her arm. "My name is Olivia, and I'm 34 years old. While I was away on a work trip, my mother-in-law was moving into my house. And the worst part, she didn't know I could see everything. Andrew needs his mother close by," she told the movers, rearranging my furniture. "This house is too big for just him and his wife. They're barely here anyway." I muted my phone, left the table, and stepped into a quiet corner of the restaurant. With shaking hands, I called my husband, Andrew, straight to voicemail. Back on the security feed, I saw Diana moving my things, replacing my photos with her own. Then she opened my closet and ran her fingers over my clothes. "These will need to go," she said. "I need space for my things." I had installed the security cameras for peace of mind while traveling. Now they were showing me exactly how far Diana was willing to go. She had never liked me. To her, I was just the career woman who stole her son. She wanted me out of the way. Then she made a phone call. "Darling," she said sweetly, "everything's going great. You were right. Olivia being away makes this much easier. We'll have everything settled before she gets back." I froze. Andrew knew. He had been the one pushing me to take this trip. Had he planned this? "The house needs a real woman's touch," Diana continued, placing an ugly vase on my table, not someone who's always busy with work. I ended the video and texted Andrew, "Hope you're having a good day. Quick question. Why is your mother moving into our house?" Then I called my lawyer, Julia. She had helped me protect my home before when Diana tried to refinance it without my permission. "Julia, it's happening again. But this time, I have it all on video." "Send me everything," she said. "And don't let them know you're onto them yet. Let's see how far they'll go." Andrew finally texted back, "Mom's just storing some things. Don't make a big deal out of it." Storing things? I checked the cameras again. Diana was putting her fancy china in my kitchen, while my cookware was packed in boxes labeled "Donate." I texted Andrew again. Storing things doesn't mean boxing up my stuff and changing the whole house. His reply came fast. "You're overreacting. Mom's condo is being renovated. She needs a place to stay." I told her it was fine. I took a deep breath. Julia's words echoed in my mind. "Don't tip your hand yet." "How long is a while?" I asked. "We'll talk when you get back. She's just trying to help." Help. Right. Like when she tried to make Andrew sell the house so we could move closer to her. Or when she told people our house was too big for a couple without kids. On the camera, I saw movers bringing in a whole bedroom set. "This goes in the master bedroom," Diana said. "That furniture can go to the garage." my furniture, my bedroom. I sent the video to Julia and checked my calendar. I still had 3 more days in Seattle. But I decided to go home early. My phone buzzed again. Andrew. Mom says the movers are almost done. She's excited to make the place more homey. Maybe this will help you want to spend more time there. I stared at the message, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. After 7 years together, 5 of them married, Andrew was still choosing his mother over me. But this time, I had proof. I replied with a simple and moved my meetings. I'd be home in 48 hours. Let Diana think she had all the time in the world to settle in. Let her believe she had won. Because this time, I wasn't just going to stop her, I was going to make sure she never tried this again. I sent one last message to Julia. I'll be home tomorrow night. Get everything ready. It was time to show my mother-in-law whose house this really was. I arrived home at 9 p.m. the next evening, parking my car a block away and walking silently up to my own house. The lights were on, and through the window, I could see Diana lounging on an unfamiliar floral sofa where my modern sectional used to be. She was talking on the phone, gesturing animatedly. Instead of going in, I circled to the side of the house, opening my security app. Diana's voice came through clearly on the indoor cameras. Yes, she texted Andrew about it, but don't worry. He handled it just like we discussed. She laughed. You should have seen how fast the movers worked. All her modern furniture is in storage. Well, most of it's marked for donation actually. This house needs a proper family atmosphere. I switched cameras, watching her walk into my kitchen, now filled with her ornate china cabinets and vintage decor. Of course she'll be upset, but what can she do? Andrew's name is on the house too. If she makes a fuss, well, I've already spoken to my friend Margaret about a position for her in California. Much better career opportunity than what she has here. My hands clenched into fists, so that's why Andrew had been pushing me to consider that job transfer. Another one of Diana's manipulations. Trust me, once everything's settled, she'll have no choice but to accept it. This house is far too big for someone who's never here. Andrew needs his mother, not some career-obsessed wife. Whoa. I'd heard enough. Time to make my entrance. The look on Diana's face when I walked through my front door was priceless. She froze mid-sentence, phone still pressed to her ear, face draining of color. I'll call you back, she stammered, ending her call. Olivia. What a surprise. We weren't expecting you until Friday. Clearly, I set my bag down, looking around at my transformed living room. You've been busy. She recovered quickly, smoothing her expensive blouse. Just helping to make the place more comfortable. Andrew agreed it needed a woman's touch. Interesting. I pulled out my phone, holding it up. Because I've been watching you move in all day yesterday, and I don't recall any discussion about donating my belongings. The color drained from her face as she realized what I meant. Her eyes darted to the small security camera in the corner, the one she hadn't noticed during her takeover. Those cameras are recording. Every minute, including your little phone conversations about forcing me to transfer to California. I smiled sweetly. Would you like to see the footage? She drew herself up, trying to regain control. This is Andrew's house too. He wants me here. Actually, I pulled an envelope from my bag. We should talk about that. But maybe we should wait for Andrew. He should be home soon, right? Diana's eyes narrowed. He's away on business until next week. No, he's not. I sat down in one of her antique chairs, making myself comfortable. I called his office this morning. Interesting how his business trip got canceled right when you decided to move in. Almost like it was planned. As if on cue, we heard a key in the lock. Andrew walked in, stopping short when he saw me. Olivia, you're home early. Surprise, I held up my phone, showing the security feed. Your mother and I were just discussing her renovation project. He looked between us, uncertainty crossing his face. Look, I can explain. Mom's condo is not being renovated. I cut him off. I checked. Just like I checked the storage facility where she's been sending my things. Just like I checked the donation center that has no record of any furniture donations, despite what your mother told the movers. Diana stepped forward, voice sharp. Now see here. No, you see here. I stood up, keeping my voice calm but firm. I've watched you try to take over my marriage for 5 years. I've watched you manipulate, scheme, and undermine me at every turn. But this, moving into my house while I'm away, disposing of my belongings, planning to force me into a transfer? I turned to Andrew. And you? Lying about business trips, helping her plan this behind my back. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? He had the grace to look ashamed. Mom said, she said you were never here anyway. That the house was too big for just us. That maybe if we had more family around. So you decided to let her move in without discussing it with me, your wife? Deanna cut in. A wife who's never home. Who puts her career before family. Andrew needs to make a choice. I interrupted, opening the envelope I brought. Right now. I pulled out 2 sets of papers. Option 1. Diana moves out immediately. Everything goes back exactly as it was. We go to marriage counseling, and we set some real boundaries with family. I laid down the second set of papers. Option 2. Diana keeps the house. And you keep your mother. But you lose me. Andrew stared at the divorce papers, face pale. Olivia, you can't be serious. Oh, I am. And before you both start plotting, you should know, Julia has copies of everything. The security footage, the recordings of Diana's phone calls, documentation of every item removed from this house. One call from me, and it all becomes evidence in a very public divorce case. Diana's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. You wouldn't dare. Think of the scandal. Try me. I stood up, grabbing my bag. I'm going to a hotel. You have until tomorrow morning to decide and to get every single piece of furniture back where it belongs. If not, I gestured to the papers. As I walked to the door, I turned back one last time. Oh, and Diana, the cameras are still recording, just in case you get any more bright ideas. I left them standing there, Diana sputtering with rage and Andrew looking lost. For the first time since this began, I felt in control. Let them squirm overnight. Let them realize exactly who they were dealing with. Because one way or another, this power play would be Diana's last. I spent the night at the Marriott downtown, watching the security feeds on my phone. Diana and Andrew argued for hours after I left. She tried every manipulation tactic in her arsenal. Tears, guilt, accusations. But something had shifted. For the first time, Andrew wasn't immediately jumping to defend her. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Andrew. Can we talk? Please. I replied simply, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., bring your decision. I barely slept that night, alternating between checking the security feeds and wondering if I pushed too hard. But watching Diana bark orders at the movers she called back to fix this mess reminded me exactly why I'd taken this stand. At 8:45 the next morning, I pulled up to our house. The moving truck was gone, and through the windows I could see my furniture back in place. It wasn't perfect. Diana's sense of decorating still lingered in a few spots, but it was a start. Andrew was waiting on the porch steps, alone. Mom's gone, he said as I approached. I drove her home last night. I nodded, unlocking the front door. The house smelled like furniture polish and Diana's overwhelming floral air freshener. But underneath that, it still felt like home. I'm sorry, Andrew said, following me inside. I know that's not enough, but I am. I should never have gone along with her plan. No, you shouldn't have. I sat down on our restored couch. The question is, why did you? He sank into the chair across from me, looking exhausted. She has this way of making everything sound reasonable. She said you were always traveling, that the house was too empty, that having her here would make it feel more like a family home. And I guess I've never been good at saying no to her. I noticed. I pulled out my phone, showing him the recordings from yesterday. Listen to how she talks about me, Andrew. About our marriage. She's been trying to push me out since day one, and you've let her. He watched the footage, wincing at Diana's words. I didn't know she was planning to get rid of your things, or about the California job. You have to believe that. I do, I said softly, but that's almost worse. You were so busy trying to keep your mother happy that you didn't even question what she was doing to your wife. Tears formed in his eyes. I don't want to lose you, Olivia, please. Tell me how to fix this. I pulled out a business card. This is Dr. Matthews. She's a marriage counselor who specializes in family boundary issues. I made us an appointment for next week. Hope flickered across his face. You're willing to try. On 3 conditions, I held up my fingers. 1. Diana returns her key and never gets another one. 2. We set clear boundaries about visiting, No more surprise appearances, no more manipulating our schedules. 3. You commit to the counseling. Really commit, because this is your last chance, Andrew. I love you, but I won't be your mother's doormat anymore. He nodded, reaching for my hand. Anything. I choose you, Olivia. I should have chosen you all along. My phone buzzed. A text from Diana. I hope you're happy. You've turned my own son against me. This isn't over. I showed it to Andrew. His jaw tightened as he read it. Actually, he said, taking my phone, it is over. He typed a response. Mom, Olivia is my wife. Either you learn to respect that, or you won't be part of our lives. Your choice. He sent it before I could stop him. There. Should have done that years ago. Diana's response was immediate. A series of shocked emojis followed by a long paragraph about ungrateful children and manipulative wives. Andrew silenced the phone. She'll calm down eventually, he said. And if she doesn't, well, that's her choice. I leaned into him, feeling the tension of the past 2 days start to fade. You know she's going to tell everyone how I cruelly threw her out and turned you against her. He laughed softly. Let her. We have video evidence showing exactly what happened. Although he glanced at the security cameras, maybe we should upgrade the system. Just in case. Already done. I smiled. Julia helped me install a few more cameras yesterday, including one watching the back door, Mom's favorite entrance for surprise visits. Andrew pulled me closer. I really messed up, didn't I? Yes, I said honestly. But you're fixing it. That's what matters. Over the next few weeks, we worked hard to rebuild our trust. The counseling sessions were tough but necessary, helping Andrew understand his mother's manipulation patterns and teaching us both how to set healthy boundaries. Diana tried a few more times to regain control, surprise visits, tearful phone calls, even a dramatic medical emergency that turned out to be a mild headache. But each time, Andrew stood firm. Our house slowly became our home again, free from Diana's influence, and every time I walk through the door, I smile at the small security camera in the corner, my silent guardian against any future power plays. Sometimes the best defense isn't just being prepared. It's being willing to stand your ground, even against family, especially against family. You're not a real father, Emma shouted, her voice shaking the quiet living room. Stop pretending you care. Lily, my younger daughter, stood beside her, arms crossed, nodding. I gripped the arms of my old chair, feeling their words hit like sharp knives. After raising them alone for 20 years, this was the pain I never expected. I'm Daniel. I wanted to say, I've been your father since you were little. I changed your diapers, helped you with homework, stayed up when you were sick. But none of that mattered now. We found our real dad, Lily said coldly. She threw a picture on the table, a rich-looking man standing in front of a huge house. He's successful. Unlike you. I looked at the photo, then at my daughters. Emma, 23, and Lily, 21, stared at me like I was nothing. This was the same house where I had bandaged their scraped knees, wiped away their tears, and cheered them on in life. We took a DNA test, Emma said. He's our biological father, and he wants to make up for lost time. He can give us what you never could. I thought about the old box in the attic, full of letters, photos, and secrets I'd kept to protect them. But now wasn't the time to reveal the truth. If that's what you believe, I said calmly, standing up, I won't stop you. That's it. Lily snapped. You're not even going to fight for us? You can't fight for people who have already made up their minds, I answered. Emma grabbed her bag. We're moving in with him. He's paying for our college. Something you could never afford. I watched as they packed, taking down family pictures from the walls. Had they been planning this for weeks? Maybe longer? When you leave, I said softly, take whatever you want. The house will be empty for a while anyway. Lily hesitated. What do you mean? I got a job offer far away, I said. Since you found your real father, there's nothing keeping me here. Emma scoffed. Good. We don't need you pretending anymore. They left without looking back. I went to the attic, opening the box of truths they never asked for. Inside were police reports, letters, and proof of who their biological father really was. The kind of man he had been. The kind of man I had protected them from. But they weren't ready for that yet. That night, I made 3 calls. One to my lawyer, one to my friend at the police station, and one to accept my new job. My daughters would learn the truth someday. Maybe not now, maybe not soon, but eventually. As I packed up my life, I remembered something Emma once said when she was 6. Even if you're not my real dad, you're my real father because you choose me every day. If only she remembered that now. The next morning, as I loaded the last box into my car, I took one last look at our home. The garden we planted, the driveway where they learned to ride bikes, the porch where we had laughed and dreamed. "Goodbye, girls," I whispered. "I hope you find what you're looking for." Deep down, I knew they would. And when they did, I would still be here, waiting. 3 months passed like a slow-motion replay of my worst moments. Each morning, I'd wake up in my new apartment in Seattle, check my phone for messages that never came, and try to build a life that didn't revolve around being a father. My lawyer, Michael, kept me updated. They tried to access their college funds, he told me during one of our weekly calls. They seemed surprised to find out they couldn't without your signature. And their real father? I asked, staring out at the rain-soaked city skyline. James Anderson. Michael's voice dripped with disgust. Apparently isn't as wealthy as he pretended to be. The mansion was rented for photos, and his supposed business empire is more smoke and mirrors than substance. I closed my eyes, fighting the urge to jump on the next flight home. Have they figured it out yet? Not entirely, but they're starting to ask questions. The right ones. The first crack in their perfect new life appeared 6 weeks after I left. Emma called late one night, her voice small and uncertain. I let it go to voicemail. Daniel, she stumbled over the words. Something's weird with James. He keeps asking about Mom's inheritance, about our trust funds. I know we said, call me back maybe. I didn't. A week later, Lily texted, "The house feels strange without your stupid dad jokes. James doesn't even know how I take my coffee." I saved the message but didn't respond. Then came the morning I'd been dreading and hoping for in equal measure. Michael called earlier than usual, his voice urgent. "They found out about James' past," he said without preamble. "He got drunk last night, started bragging about how easy it was to find them online, how a DNA test and some fake photos were all it took to get access to their lives." My hand tightened around the phone. "Are they okay?" "Physically, yes. Emotionally, they're asking about the box, Daniel. I think it's time." I had expected this moment, planned for it even, but it still felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. "Follow the protocol we discussed," I said. "They need to understand everything, not just parts of the truth." That afternoon, Emma and Lily arrived at Michael's office, their faces pale and drawn. He handed them each a letter I'd written, explaining that the box contained 20 years of history, their history, but it came with conditions. "Your father," Michael told them, "requires that you review everything together, in order with me present. No skipping ahead, no taking anything home. You'll understand why when you see what's inside." They agreed. In my apartment, I sat staring at my phone, knowing that at that very moment my daughters were learning the truth about their mother, a woman who had abandoned them not once, but repeatedly. They were discovering who James Anderson really was, a con man with a history of targeting vulnerable families. And hardest of all, they were learning what it had cost me to keep them safe, to give them a childhood free from the weight of these truths. Hours passed. My phone remained silent. Then, just as the Seattle sunset painted my windows in shades of orange and pink, a text arrived from Michael. "They know everything now. Ball's in their court." I walked out onto my small balcony, remembering all the times I'd wanted to tell them the truth. When Emma had cried about not looking like me at age 12. When Lily had asked why we never talked about their mother during her 16th birthday. When they both insisted that finding their real father would fill the holes in their hearts. But I made a promise, to them, to myself, to my late wife, that I would protect them from these truths until they were ready to face them. My phone buzzed again. A message from Emma. "Dad, we're so sorry. Please come home." Then Lily, "We were wrong. So wrong. You're our real father. You always were." I let the tears fall freely now, 20 years of protected secrets finally finding their way into the light. But I didn't respond immediately. They needed time to process, to understand, to really grasp what it meant to choose family over biology. Instead, I sent a simple text to Michael. "Take care of my girls. They know where to find me when they're ready." Because sometimes being a father means waiting for your children to find their way back to you, even when every instinct screams to run to them first. The rain started falling as night settled over Seattle. But for the first time in 3 months, I felt something like peace. They knew the truth now, all of it. The rest was up to them. I went inside, made a cup of coffee, and sat down to write one more letter, not of explanation or defense, but of forgiveness. Because that's what real fathers do. 2 weeks later, I was organizing my small home office when the doorbell rang. My heart skipped a beat. I knew who it would be before I even opened the door. There they stood, Emma and Lily, their eyes red from crying, clutching the photo albums I'd left behind. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Emma stepped forward, her voice breaking. "You kept every single drawing we ever made," she said, holding up a faded piece of paper with a child's scrawl. "Even the ugly ones." "They were never ugly to me," I replied softly. Lily launched herself into my arms, sobbing. "We were so stupid, Dad, so incredibly stupid." I held her tight, opening my other arm for Emma, who hesitated only a second before joining our embrace. For a long moment, we just stood there, letting years of hurt and misunderstanding wash away with their tears. Inside, they settled on my couch, looking around at my modest apartment. Their eyes landed on the wall where I'd hung their photos, not just the perfect family portraits, but the messy, real moments. Lily with cake all over her face on her 5th birthday. Emma asleep on my shoulder during a camping trip, both of them covered in mud after we tried to plant a garden in the rain. "You didn't have to protect us from the truth," Emma said finally. "About Mom, about everything." "Yes, I did," I replied, sitting across from them. "You needed to grow up feeling loved, not abandoned. You needed to believe in family and trust in the good things. The truth could wait until you were ready to understand it." "But we hurt you," Lily whispered. "We said such awful things." I leaned forward, taking their hands in mine. "Do you remember what I always told you about family? That it's not about blood," they recited together, just like when they were little. "It's about who chooses to stay," Emma finished, fresh tears rolling down her cheeks. "And I chose you," I said firmly. "Every single day for 20 years. Even these past 3 months, I was still choosing you. Choosing to let you learn these lessons on your own, even though it broke my heart to stay away." They told me everything then. About how James's true nature emerged once the initial excitement wore off. How he'd started asking about money, making excuses about his supposed wealth being tied up in investments. How he'd gotten angry when they couldn't access their college funds. But the worst part, Lily said, was realizing that he didn't know us at all. He didn't know that I'm allergic to strawberries, or that Emma needs complete silence to study, or that we both hate cilantro. He never asked about our lives, Emma added. He just wanted to be the hero who rescued us from our fake father. I made us dinner as we talked, their favorite pasta recipe, the one they'd helped me perfect over countless Sunday dinners. The familiar routine felt like healing, like coming home. "What happens now?" Lily asked as we cleared the dishes. "That's up to you," I said. "I'm here. I've always been here, but you need to decide what you want." They exchanged a look, then Emma spoke. "We want to come home, Dad, if you'll have us." "The house feels wrong without you," Lily added. "Nothing feels right without you." I pulled them close again, these daughters of my heart if not my blood. "Home isn't the house," I told them. "Home is wherever we're together. But yes, of course you can come home." Later that night, as they prepared to leave, promising to return the next weekend to help me pack, Emma handed me a package. "We made this," she said, after we read everything in the box. Inside was a new photo album. On the first page was a picture of me holding them as babies, and beneath it in their handwriting, "To our real father, the one who chose us every day." The pages that followed were filled with photos, ticket stubs, birthday cards, 20 years of memories, each annotated with their thoughts and apologies and love. On the last page was a recent photo of them, holding a sign. "DNA doesn't make a father. Love does." "We're going to spend the rest of our lives making this up to you," Lily promised. I shook my head, smiling through my tears. "No, we're going to spend the rest of our lives being a family. That's all I've ever wanted." As I watched them drive away, I thought about the box in Michael's office, now empty of its secrets. Those truths had served their purpose, but they weren't what mattered anymore. What mattered was the choice we were all making now, to be family, to forgive, to love not because of blood or obligation, but because we wanted to. I went back inside and opened the photo album again, adding a note of my own beneath their last picture, to my daughters, who taught me that sometimes the hardest paths lead us right back home. Love, your real dad.